So part 3, again, welcome to the best year of my life. I really want you guys to start feeling that and meaning it when you say it. Welcome to the best year of my life, because you're gonna realize I could do anything, and I just need to choose to do it. And as soon as you have your why powering you with your unique gifts and a vision of where you're going, you are gonna be on the path to the best year of your life for every year. This hour, we're gonna be talking about how to define a success. As I mentioned earlier, defining a dream. So dreams are kind of wishy-washy. They're big and they use words. And how do you turn that into something that's solid, right? OKRs is one of the tools we're going to use, and they're a lot like goals. So I'm going to make sure you understand the difference between OKRs and goals. They're not complicated. And then we're going to talk about what numbers are worth tracking so you know you're heading in the right direction. Okay, so the point is we want to take your dream and turn it into a reality. So what does success look like? And that's why I was saying earlier, hey, don't just stop it. I want to be successful. We need to describe what does success look like for you. How do you know if you're getting closer to your dream or not? In some cases, it should be obvious. If you say something like, I want to live in a tropical climate, and you're still not living in a tropical climate, clearly you're not getting closer to your dreams. But what if you've been putting money aside? What if you've been taking courses in school to get certifications so you can get that career that's going to get you there, right? Suddenly you realize, oh, okay, it's not so cut and dry. Like, I don't live in the tropical climate yet, but I am taking steps that are going to get me there. How do you measure that, right? So how do you turn this dream into a reality?
How do you stay there? I'm in the tropical environment just without a job.
You're in Florida, right?
I'm in Mexico, but I will be back in Las Vegas until I can financially stay in the jungle forever.
Ah, well, enjoy it while you can. Holy crap, that's going to be like one of the highlights of your life.
I know. That's why I'm like, well, and you just said if I go away, I'm stepping away from my dream. I don't know.
Oh, I hope I stabbed you right in the heart, because I hope that gets you fired up and pissed off and gets you doing whatever you need to do for you.
It's gonna get me outside of your door in 2 days when I come back to Vegas. You better watch out.
Okay, so we're going to turn our dream into reality, and the way we're going to do that is with something called OKRs. OKRs are a tool. So the O in OKR means objective, and the KR stands for key results. And I'm just going to start with an example. So this block right here, I'm going to use this again and again. So when you see one of these rounded squares, I'm talking about an OKR. The objective is I'm in the best shape of my life. You see how that's a vision, that's a dream, right? I'm in the best shape of my life. The key results are how many miles can I hike? And also, what's my weight? What's my waist? Like, what's the measure of my weight? What's the measure of my waist? So the objective is the thing you want. And the key results are how do you measure how close you are to getting there?
The more tangible metrics that you can sit there and kind of quantify in a way.
Exactly. And I thought the best way to get it across was just to give you an example up front. I'm gonna define it a little more broken down, but I feel like giving you an example right away is probably the best way to just kind of get it. I also want to call out that the OKR is powered by your why. So every time I show you one of these boxes, I'm going to put a little red heart on it so that you guys don't forget that it's not just I'm in the best shape of my life. It's I'm in the best shape of my life because I want to be here when I'm old for my kids. Got it? Okay. So here's a couple examples of OKRs. And I'm just gonna read them, and we're not gonna pause for too long, but I'm just gonna make sure I give you lots of examples. So there's the I'm in the best shape of my life. To live in the moment. So this was Katrina's. My objective is to live in the moment. My key results are I'm gonna ask myself, was I successful at living in the moment today? Do I have any regrets today? Yes or no? Was I true to myself today? So if your vision is to live in the moment, the metrics here are I'm going to ask myself these 3 questions every day. And if they're not the right answers, I'm gonna pivot. I'm gonna do something different to make them the right answers. Next one is, my vision is to retire on the beach with no worries. My key results are, well, what's the cost of living on the beach? I want to track that number. And I want to get the cost of, I want to know how much income my investment portfolio is making. Because those two numbers, the day my investment portfolio is making more than the cost of living on the beach, is the day I could go retire on the beach with no worries. Does that make sense? And if the cost of living on the beach is going up, I better take that in consideration. So I better be watching that number too.
It is going up.
My vision is to make a living as an artist. And my key results for measuring that is, what is my income as an artist and what are my monthly expenses? Because I could always focus on lowering my monthly expenses and focus on raising my income, right? So as one, if I decide, okay, well, I did it, I'm making a living as an artist, but you know what? I want to raise my monthly expenses. I want a cooler cost of living, a bigger house, a nicer car. And you realize, okay, well, I'm also going to increase my income from my art. My vision is to bring dance to the world. And the way I'm going to measure that is I'm going to measure how many lives have I touched. And a good example there would either be, say, for example, you were doing dance videos on YouTube. You could literally keep a track of how many views you have. Or if you have students, you could literally keep a track of how many students have come through your school or your dance, whatever. And you could also track how many countries were your students from, or those views on your YouTube videos. Because YouTube does give you that. I have analytics. I can tell where people are coming from in the world watching my videos. So if you want to bring dance to the world, you can track how many people you brought it to and what countries they lived in and try to get a student in every country. That's what you really want. My vision is to be a great friend. And I want to, the reason I picked this one was because I want to make sure I was covering all the bases. Like, we're not just driving for success and achievement, we're also driving for being good people, being that authentic person inside that you want to be. So being a good friend could definitely be a vision. And the way you could measure that is you could measure how much quality time did I spend with people this week? Or how many real connections did I have this week? How many real connections do I have in my life, right? When I think people do this unconsciously. On their birthday, the number of people who show up, people take that very seriously because those are real connections in your life. Who shows up on your birthday? Who shows up in your life? Like, you could literally kind of keep an eye on that and use that to discover, hey, am I being a great friend? Am I the kind of friend that people want to show up for? So that makes sense?
If I can interject for 2 seconds there,
Yes,
yeah,
please.
even when you're doing when you were doing the blind spot challenge for us, where it's like you talk to your good friends about this kind of stuff, the people the closest with, that was great because it was one of those kind of connections you have with people that you love and you trust, and you understand that where you're coming from is, I just want to be better for you as well as myself, and that was a really amazing, visceral, constructive conversation that happens from that,
Yeah.
just by default of you
That's
being
so
so
awesome.
open
That's
about
like
that.
exactly the kind of stuff I was hoping you would get out of it. I'm so
Absolutely.
glad to hear you say that.
Yeah.
What's amazing about that exercise is that because you're asking those things and people are giving you those answers, on their side, there's something in them where they say, damn, this guy's asking some really good questions. I wonder if I should ask myself those questions. And not everybody, but some people will start to be inspired by the changes you're making in your life just by asking those questions. And give it a year or two, and they're going to come to you and say, you know what, when you came to me and asked me about those blind spots, that really opened my eyes. And now I want to ask you.
They actually ended up all doing it that day.
Yes, that's so awesome.
Like I was like, and it kind of took me by surprise because I was like, oh no, this is a one-way thing. And they went, well, is it? And I'm like, well, I mean, do you think it's going to help you? And they went, yeah, I kind of think it will. I'm like, okay, great. Give me a second because you really caught me off guard here. And let's and like a natural dialogue happened from it, so it was really cool actually.
That's so awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. Sweet. Okay. So OKRs stand for objective and key results. Here's an example over here. An OKR, your objectives right there at the top. You're going to have key result number 1, key result number 2. Under that, I have a working example with the heart on it. I want to make it clear that an OKR doesn't include the heart. I added that. So if you start Googling OKRs, you're going to find a wealth of information out there because it is a tool that a lot of companies use. OKRs is how Zynga took over the market. Okay, OKRs are amazing, but I want to call out that you're not going to see the powered by your why part if you go doing Google searches. So just know that anything you find online, apply the heart to it.
Can you give me like one quick example of how Zynga did that? I'm just really curious, actually.
So Zynga has an overall OKR for the company and had key results. So their OKR was, we want to change the world through games. And they had OKRs so they had results for, here are the numbers we're going to track. How many lives do we touch? How many people play our game every day, or our games every day? And then, are these people around the world? And they use that as a measure to say, where are we today? And are we heading in the right direction, or are we losing people? Like that sort of a thing. Then from there, they took that main objective and they passed it out to every team and said, this is what our company does. Now you tell us what your OKRs are for your team. And so Farmville had OKRs and Poker had OKRs. The hiring department and the recruiters had an OKR, and they defined their own OKR, and it had to basically drive the parent OKR for the company. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. OKRs can break down into smaller pieces, and the smaller pieces just drive the one above, and you'll find yourself always doing things that matter. It's really amazing because you have that clear vision of where you're going as a company or as a life. And then all the little things like, here's the OKR for my health. You know that OKR supports where you want to go in life. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a breakdown. So an OKR is one objective and 2 or 3 key results. Your objective is what you want, which is your vision, and it's usually not measurable. And things like, I'm in the best shape of my life, it's subjective, right? But that's good because dreams are subjective. And the whole point behind the OKR is that we're going to make it more concrete. So the key results is how we do that. So key results must be measurable. So here in the example of I'm in the best shape of my life, how many miles can I hike in a day? That is measurable, right? And you can measure that over time and find out, I used to hike 1 mile, now I hike 10 miles. I don't do it every day, but once a month I hike 10 miles, right? You can see that you're making progress to being in the best shape of your life. Or you might say, you know what? I'm hiking 5 miles on average in a month, and I used to hike 10. So you know you're going in the wrong direction. So the key results are there to show you, how you gauge success, and are you heading in the right direction? I want to call it out that it's results, it's not time. A danger is, for example, being an artist. I'm going to be an amazing artist at a specific type of sketching, and my results are I'm gonna draw for 5 hours a day. That is not a good key result, because you could spend 5 hours a day drawing, but are you getting better? And in theory, the answer is yes, but it's possible you're not. So it's more about focusing on the things that are actually going to matter. So it could be, instead of I'm going to draw for 5 hours a day, maybe it could be once a day, I'm going to post a sketch or maybe a finished piece on a specific web forum and ask for feedback, right? How about that for a metric? Did I post 1 image today and ask for feedback? And did I do that every day this month, right? That's something that's going to get you closer to your goal of being an artist, because the feedback is going to tell you if you're on the right path, and you're going to have a better and better understanding of what a finished product looks like. But along the way, you'll be like, you know what? Last month, I made 30 sketches, 30 finished products, and I got feedback on them. Like that's huge. So when you're thinking about what you're measuring, Pick something you can actually measure that gives you the real results of how close you are to your dream. And this is going to show you a little bit about that breakdown I was talking about. So I'm skipping the key results in this one because I'm just using an example of how things break. So don't worry too much about the key results. But for example, your main OKR could be, I'm living my dream, whatever your dream is. And you have two results, let's say, for measuring that. And part of your dream is, I'm healthy and fit. So you have a healthy and fit dream or vision, and you've got some results for measuring that, and both are powered by your why. And then you say, you know what's important to me for living my dream? I need to be, or I want to be super smart. My vision of me, I am smart. And then you have a couple key results on what that actually means for you. Maybe part of living your dream involves having zero debt. There you go. You know, you have a couple key results for how you will measure that. Maybe part of living your dream is you're going to be a loving person and you want to be loved. And you identify some key results on how you would measure that. Okay? So all of these things, all these OKRs, they are your dreams. They are OKRs that are powered by your why. So I just want to pause and say that again. What we're doing here is we're taking our dreams, we're breaking them into something real that we can achieve. And the way we do that is we have OKRs that are all powered by our why. Okay? Next part of that is you can break your OKRs into what officially is called an initiative. I call them projects, whatever word you like. You just identify some things or some projects that you can do to make that dream come true. Okay, so for example, this first one, I have a health and fitness dream or vision. Well, one of my projects for that is that I'm going to hire a health coach. That's going to get me closer to my dream, or you think it's going to get you closer to your dream. For being super smart, you might decide, you know what, I'm going to read 3 books. That's one of my projects for getting smart. And I'm going to go get one more certification, whatever that means. For zero debt, you know what, I'm going to put $50 a month extra to my credit card. And I'm also going to save $50 a month and put it in my savings. And those are 2 projects that you could do, like you've identified them. These are 2 projects that could make this zero debt thing happen. And in the beginning, you're just identifying them. Later, you'll prioritize, okay, which one looks like the best one? Let's do that one first. Okay, in this case, I would say probably paying off your credit card is probably more important than putting the $50 in savings. If you could do both, do both. But figure out which one is more important for you, do that project first, or put more energy in that project first. The be loving and be loved. Maybe you decide, you know what, date night is working. It's really working. I want to keep date night. I'm identifying it works, and I'm not going to lose it. And you know what? I want to keep no TV in bed. It's working. I feel loving. Sorry, I'm loving to my significant other. I feel loved. I feel like these are 2 of the reasons why I am not going to lose these. So you see how that works? They could be projects that you're going after to improve the numbers, but they could also be habits you already have that you just don't want to lose. So, and just to sum up that whole row, these are projects that quite literally move the numbers of the key results. Does that make sense? That's how you know it's a good project. It's because it's going to move the numbers of the thing above it. While I got you here, let's say you have a project and you do it. Let's say, I don't know, the zero debt thing. Let's say you are doing your $50 a month to your credit card, and you're tracking your numbers as well, and you realize that this $50 a month to your credit card, it's not working. It's not moving the numbers in the right direction. What might that tell you? Right? It'll tell you right away, hey, either I'm measuring the wrong thing as my key results, right? Maybe as key results, you were measuring, I don't know, how many eggs you have in the fridge, and that doesn't help with your debt at all. But now you realize it's not helping with your debt at all. You can go find a better number to measure. Or you may realize, hey, this project of putting $50 a month extra on my credit card is not moving my debt number. And you might realize, you know what? It's because as soon as I started putting an extra 50 on the card every month, I started charging an extra 50 every month as well. And you know what? I need to have both those projects. I need to spend less and pay it off, right? So if you're doing a project and the numbers aren't moving it like the way you thought they were, it will help you play detective and realize, okay, does my project need to change? Do I need to measure different numbers? Like what's not working here? And then you could try something else. And I want to make it very clear, you are not going to get it right first try. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're not going to get it right the first try, and you're going to do better. Every month, every week, you're going to say, you know what, that didn't work, I can do better. And you'll do a little bit better. And once you home in on that thing that does move numbers, suddenly you'll just like be blowing your goals away, blowing your OKRs away. Suddenly you'll have zero debt. It's amazing how fast things will go when you find that one little linchpin and you pull it. And suddenly, boom, it all just falls apart, and now you're done. And you're ready for something bigger. So recap on this slide is that your dreams, we're going to write them as OKRs. Every OKR is powered by your why. And the way you make your OKRs happen is you make little projects that move numbers. The project doesn't move numbers, stop doing it. It's not about setting goals and then holding yourself accountable to finish those goals if those things are not moving numbers. If they're not moving numbers, stop it.
That's always an easy one to do because that's something you can very much measure. You know, what is your minimum payment? How much do you owe on each? What's your balance on each card? Which card is it? What's the APR on each card? What's my overhead? That's stuff that's easy to measure. It's an easy metric.
Just to throw out an example, let's say you were in sales and you've never done it before, and you realize, okay, my goal here is to be like #1 in sales in my company or in my group or whatever. And so you set a project. Every day, I'm going to pick up the phone and call 3 people, right? And a month later or a week later, you could look at your key results and say, how many sales did I do this month, if that was one of your results? And if it did not change, then you know picking up the phone and calling 3 people every day is not working, right? So stop doing it or change it. Go talk. Maybe what you should be doing is a project where you talk to every other salesperson who's doing better than you and ask them for advice, and then check in with them once a week. Maybe that's a project worth doing, right? And so don't get stuck on projects that don't work. You know, identify it's not working, numbers did not move, let's come up with a new project. And as soon as you start getting numbers to move, what you'll find is it just opens the floodgates. And a lot of things you're going to do are things you've never done before. If you're doing all this right, you're going to set your heart on something you've never had before, which means you're going to have to go make mistakes, because that means you're at the edge of your boundaries in your comfort zone, and you have to go outside your comfort zone to get there. And the way you know that you're going outside your comfort zone is that you're going to make mistakes, and that's great because that's where the lessons are.
There's no immediate answers, but you can figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah. Okay, so with OKRs and projects, everything on that last slide, I just want to call out less is more. And what I mean by that is fewer OKRs are better. So combine them however you can. Here's a good example. I have a channel called Kinky Poly Atheist. That basically what I did was I started to identify all the things that I wanted in my life. And at some point I said, wait a minute, I am kinky. I am polyamorous. I am an atheist. So when I decided to make my channel, I called it what I am. I am Kinky Poly Atheist. And so I summed up so much stuff under one sentence. I am these 3 words. I've got another one, which I got from the choice training, which is I am a passionate, playful, courageous leader. And that right there, that is an OKR right there. I am a passionate, playful, courageous leader. So how can I come up with some key results that measure that? And everything else start to fall under that. Am I being a leader? Am I being passionate? Does that make sense? So instead of having like this piece of paper that I showed you earlier, right, with all these categories of things, go ahead and write these all out. But what you'll find is they're going to start to overlap, right? Your health and fitness goal, your personal growth goal, your spiritual goal, they might, your love and relationship or your love and romance. You might personally combine those all into, I am an amazing father and husband. Does that make sense? That could be an OKR. I am an amazing father and husband. And if projects don't fall under that, if they don't drive, I am an amazing father and husband, don't do those projects, right? If you've got a project that involves you being a dick to people, maybe it's not in line with who you are. So fewer OKRs is better, is what I'm trying to get to. I don't want you to have 10 of those things. I want you to have 2 or 3, maybe 5 that all kind of like link and drive in the same direction to one big one. Fewer projects, same thing. You can list a bunch of projects, like you can identify things that might move you forward, but only pick a couple each month or each week or whatever it is you decide, because the fewer you pick, the more you can focus on finishing one and finding out if it works or not. And I just want to call out that the reason I wrote this, pick fewer, less is more, is because I'm really bad at that. I pick too many projects, I pick too many OKRs, and I'm calling that out. When you see mine, don't do like me. Do better than me. Okay, so with your projects, less is more. So prioritize them, look at what numbers you think they're going to move, and do the ones that look like they're going to do the best first. And then cut the projects that don't work or don't move numbers or don't seem like they'll move numbers. Any questions on that? I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory, but I just want to pause just in case. Good? Thumbs up? All right. Okay, so I'm going to basically, I went back and looked at my Q4 2020 goals. And I'm just going to be straight with you. These goals, I wrote them because I did the choice program, and part of the choice program involves doing something that they called a PSP, which is a personal somethings program. I can't remember. Personal strategic plan. That's what it was. I did it their way, and I noticed that I drifted from their way very quickly to my way, and I went back and rewrote everything so that I could share it with you to show you this is what it could look like. For my life, this is real. That's what I'm trying to say. This is real. This is not imagining anymore. This is not a vision of the future. This is where I am right now, this quarter. So, where'd my mouse go? Here we go. So my dreams, my OKR, my main one is living authentically and inspiring others. And I said to you earlier, that's saying I am a passionate, playful, courageous leader. I am the kicky polyatheist. I'm building communities and changing lives, all those things, right? Live authentically and inspire others. So I had to identify what authentic was for me. I had to figure out how I could live authentically so big that it inspires others to do the same thing. You can see my heart there. The big Y is powered by my vision board on my wall. And that came together over time. It just naturally happened. But I see it every day. And I purposely look at it every day. I start at the top, and at the top it says, Danny lives. I'm a passionate, playful, courageous leader. I'm the kinky polyatheist. I'm dispelling shame around sex, sexuality, relationships, and spirituality. I also engage with and dispel bullies and bully tactics. That is what I say to myself every morning. And it's not a bunch of sentences. It's not a bunch of affirmations that, I found online that I just kind of say over and over again and try to convince myself are true. It's no, this is who I am. This is who I want to be, and I won't let anything else happen but that. So that's what an OKR can look like. My KRs there are what's the size of my network, and that's the size of my friend network, my community, my tribe. It's also the size of the kinky polyatheist network that I'm building. So there's 2 numbers there that I'm kind of tracking. One is the quality people in my life. And the other one is how many lives am I touching with my channel? And an easy way for me to measure that is just looking at my subscriptions and looking at my views. One of the other things that I'm looking at is if I'm inspiring others, and that means people are sharing things. And I have a way of seeing that people are sharing my videos and sharing my posts and things like that. And I'm watching that to see, okay, am I inspiring others? Are they sharing these things? Does it feel so powerful to them that they want to share it with others? So those are 2 ways that I'm tracking that. From there, I'm going to break these down. So I'm in the best shape of my life was one of the things that I wanted. And the way I'm measuring that was with my weight and the measure of my waist. I'm the kinky polyatheist, and I'm building that brand, the kinky polyatheist, and I'm measuring that by the number of views and the number of subscriptions. In the future, let me back that up a little bit. In 2021, I plan on adding to that and actually put a revenue number there. Like, what is the revenue I'm making from this brand? Because if I'm not making money, then is it really worth it? Are people paying for it? And I don't want to say that I'm judging my value based on what people will pay for it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I want to make sure that I'm doing things that people are finding value in, so much value that they're willing to put their money where their mouth is. One of my OKRs is to be a great friend. And this stemmed from the fact that I'm a little bit of an introvert, and it's something that I'm focusing on and putting myself out there more and making better connections. I realized that when I was a kid, this is a little bit of my why behind this one. When I was a kid, my parents didn't have adult friends. And I didn't have any examples or role models of what adult relationships look like or adult friendships look like. And because of that, I kind of do my own thing and I don't always connect with people. And I realized I'm not being a great friend and I want to be a great friend. I want more great friends in my life, but I need to start with me. So one of my initiatives is to be a great friend. And the way I decided to measure that was, what kind of quality time am I spending with friends? Am I making quality time for others? Am I making time for you to be a great friend to you? And if I'm not, then I need to do something about that. And I'm also measuring real connections. Who are the real connections in my life, and how do I make sure that I'm nurturing those? Another one here is that I committed to being single and I committed to being whole this year or this quarter. And what that meant was I discovered some patterns in my my relationships and my romantic life, and I realized I had some codependent stuff that was coming up, and I decided to remain single and focus on myself and those patterns and healing before moving on to any other new relationships. And the KRs there is that I literally have a journal where I write down lessons, and I try to write down a lesson or 2 every other day. And so as I learn lessons, I write them down. And I also measure how much me time I spend. So if I'm not spending time on myself, if I'm giving my me time away, that means I'm not being true to myself, and I'm falling into these patterns of bending and people pleasing and things like that. So they're numbers that I use to keep myself honest with myself. Okay, so I'm gonna bring those up with some projects. So best shape of my life. One of my projects was, you know what? I mean it this time, I'm hiring a health coach. I'm not gonna accept not hitting my goal. I'm hiring a health coach, and I did. I decided one of my projects was no alcohol, and I cut out alcohol. In fact, I cut out alcohol for about 3 months. And with the exception of literally last night, I had a few glasses of wine. I haven't drank in 3 months, and it made a big difference. I also decided to work out 4 times a week. So these were my 3 projects that I put together for best shape of my life. Hiring the health coach made a huge difference. The no alcohol made a huge difference. I want to say out loud, working out 4 times a week didn't make a huge difference. When it comes to health and fitness, I'm learning that the top 3 things: food, exercise. So, but that's just some learnings. I did move those numbers and I did lose a lot of weight, and I am in the best shape of my life right now. So my goal for next quarter is going to be in the best shape of my life for the rest of my life.
And to be more of a testament to that, there, you had plenty of temptation these last 3 months to fall off that wagon, right?
Yeah. And I also, it really helped that my roommates are also very healthy people. And so I've learned a lot from them. Okay. So for the Kinky Polyatheist brand, I decided to write a book. I also decided to post 4 videos weekly. I'm learning the 4 videos weekly, making a big difference on those numbers. The book, writing the book, hasn't impacted those numbers at all. Releasing the book is going to impact those numbers. So I've been hesitant to write. I haven't been writing as much as I should, and I've been learning from that. And one of the things I've identified as a project for next quarter is that I'm going to start releasing pieces of the book, even though the book's not done. I'm going to start at the top, or page 1, find the first heading, release a short article or a summary of that heading, or release a video summary of that heading. So I'm releasing videos about the book, and I'm creating buzz around the book to drive my numbers, get more views, get more subscribers. And the day the book comes out, it will just be icing on the cake. Another one that came out mid-quarter was I ran into somebody who said, you should start a podcast. If you've already got all those videos and most of the videos are just talking to the camera, you should start a podcast, because you could literally, triple your audience just by having people driving in their car hearing you. And I was like, that's a great idea. I added that project, and I've already checked that one off. Being a great friend. One of my projects was to reach out to 5 people every week. At one point, I was reaching out to 5 people daily, and it was a little too much for me. So I dialed it back to 5 people a week. And it's been a great way to keep nurturing relationships and also reach out to new people, which is something as an introvert I'm not the greatest at. It kind of pushes me to make that first contact. And I started a 1 friend date a week, which was basically set some quality time aside to get together with somebody and focus only on them. And that's been wonderful. I also, in the process of the quarter, based on my other goal about being single and whole, I identified that I fall under the caretaking side of the codependency, seesaw? And I made a caretaking checklist to make sure that when I am interacting with friends, that I'm not letting myself fall away from being true to myself. So I've got a checklist there where it's just like, make sure that I am not giving away my me time, and I'm not compromising my priorities just because I want to be around people. For the single stuff, I decided to, single and healthy, I decided to read 3 books, and that just happens naturally for me. I'm just good at reading books, and it led to a lot of stuff like that caretaking checklist. And I decided to stay single until 2021, and I'm not sure where I'm going to go with that in 2021, but it's been pretty solid. The one, I'm hesitant to call it a relationship because we don't put labels on things, but the one friend that I've been getting closer to, we've had a very straight talk about both wanting to stay single. And even though we're spending time together, we want to make sure that we also spend a lot of time apart. And that's been wonderful. And a new, growing, healthy experience for me personally. So this is an example of what your OKRs can look like. It's an example of how they can land at the end of any time period. And this time period happens to be 3 months at the end of 2020. Do you guys have any questions you'd like to ask about any of these? Okay, I was just trying to make them real for you. Oh, it looks like I had one more. Oh yeah, I have a journal. One of the things I learned was to start a page, and every day I start a sentence, I feel blank, and I keep filling in the blanks. I keep saying it. I feel anxiety. I feel rushed. I feel bored. Like whatever I'm feeling in the morning, write that down, and it helps you kind of get in touch with what you're really feeling on the inside that you may be ignoring. That whole thing about don't let the tamed ones tell you how to live, and the way humans have been kind of like housebroken. One of the ways we housebreak ourselves as adults is this misconception that we're not allowed to feel. And so I've been purposely digging into that. What am I feeling that I'm ignoring or pressing down, and why? And the less I've done that, the more powerful I've become. And so I highly recommend that for everybody. It's that getting in touch with that inner child is that reason why I put that photo of the little kid inside the bear on my wall, is because I started writing down my feelings and realizing I was holding them in, and I don't want to do that anymore. So, okay. So dreams, we're gonna turn them into OKRs. Once we've got OKRs, we're gonna turn those into projects. All of those, if you think about it, those are SMART goals. We've already done it. Like everybody, I would assume everybody knows what SMART goals are. SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. And they're a wonderful way to put a really concrete goal together and actually go achieve something. But what's great is just doing the OKRs and just making the projects, you pretty much just made SMART goals for your life. and you didn't have to do it in such a hard way. I don't know how else to say that. Like when I've made SMART goals for my life in the past, I make these complicated long statements that don't feel powerful, and I don't have the why built into them. When I do OKRs, I get all the benefits of SMART goals, but they're smaller, they're more concise, there's less to remember, and you just run. So once you write your OKRs, and once you write down your projects, take a moment just to go over them and verify you've hit all the SMART goal bases for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. So I'm going to give you an example. So with these, I want to know what's written here. Is it specific? Is it measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based? So my OKRs, they're high level, right? The vision is not that specific, but it's a clear picture. It gets more specific when you put the KRs in there, once you know what numbers you're tracking. And it gets more specific when you start adding those projects. So yeah, we're specific. Is it measurable? Absolutely. Those numbers for the KRs, the key results, very measurable. Your projects should also have measurable numbers, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Is it achievable? When we break down into those projects, that's how we start to see what's achievable, right? Those projects should be achievable. The OKRs themselves, those are going to feel much bigger. They're going to feel more like a direction in life. And a good example is if you're in your car, I don't care where you are. If you're in your car, let's say your goal is to drive to New York City. That driving direction, New York City, it doesn't matter where you are. You can ask yourself, where am I compared to New York City? And start heading in that direction. So it's going to take you a long time to get to New York City. But on the project side, you might say, okay, well, I'm just going to figure out what highway to get on and what the next town is and get to the next town. And so that could be a project. And now you can start to see, okay, what's achievable is I can drive to the next town. And at some point you'll say, you know what, I need gas. Stopping at a gas station, that's achievable. So the OKRs themselves, they're going to be so big, they might not seem achievable. They seem like a direction, but the projects should feel achievable. Does that make sense? The projects need to be relevant. How do we know they're relevant? Well, do the projects drive the numbers in the OKR? That's it. So that's how you can tell they're relevant. Are they time-based? If you look at this at the top, it says Danny's OKRs Q4 2020. So there's the time-based. I also recommend on your projects, add a deadline. So with this one specifically, I would come back, if I were to do this all over again, I would come back and write down the deadlines for all of those. Some of them were as soon as possible, like hire a coach. Some of them were every week, like the workout. Some of them were came up later, like start a podcast. So after I recognized start a podcast, I asked myself, okay, when am I going to do that? Not this week, next week. And that's exactly what happened. So
even though you have like the more vague quarterly goal, you still try to break that down to a per week kind of situation if you can, right?
Yeah, and you may or may not make it a quarterly goal. For example, best shape of my life, I did write down a weight goal. I did write down a waist measurement goal. But honestly, best shape of my life, I found out real quick was wrong. I wrote down a goal of I want to be less than 180 pounds and I want my waist to be this big. And then I got to 170 and then I got below 170. And I realized, okay, best shape of my life was still the direction I was going. I was winning on that best shape of my life. But if I had stopped at 180, like I did 3 years ago, then I would lose it, which is exactly what happened. So now best shape of my life is less about hitting 180 and more about saying, is my weight today better than when I started? And the answer is yes. And now I'm going to make sure that continues in the future. So you will ratchet up your goals if you actually write down quarterly goals. Okay, so I'm going to talk about which numbers to track because this is really, really important. With the OKRs, you're tracking the current reality of the results. So when I ask myself if I'm in the best shape of my life, I can step on a scale and know the answer. What is my weight today? What is my best weight? There's the answer. There's the reality. Same thing with my waist. I also want to call out, odds are the numbers you track as your key results, they are numbers you cannot change in a day. And this is really important because if you say, I want to be less than 180 pounds, like I did, you could beat yourself up every day because the number's not moving. But in all honesty, you can't control that number in a day. You're being unfair to yourself. So keep that in mind. The number is there to give you a reality check. Am I actually in the best shape of my life today? Yes or no? But it may not be a number you can change in a day. On the flip side of that, the projects should only track numbers you can control today. So hire a health coach. Did I do that? Yes or no? I can control that in a day. Every day I can say, did I hire a health coach until the day I do? And that might turn into, did I make it to my weekly meeting with my health coach? Yes or no? Right? I can track that in a day. Same thing with workouts. I can ask myself, did I work out today? And did I make it to 4 days a week? And yes, you can control that in a day. You can decide to work out or not work out. Same thing with the alcohol. I can decide to drink alcohol today or not. So projects should only have numbers you can track in a day or you have control over in a day. And OKRs will probably not have numbers you can control in a day. But if you're tracking your projects, then you're going to start to move those OKR numbers. And that's really the whole point. Your projects are supposed to drive those numbers that are hard to track in a day or hard to change in a day. And yeah, you're going to ask yourself if your projects are affecting your OKRs. Okay, so I'm going to take that back to my goals again. And I'm going to say, verify. I'm going to ask myself, hey, are these numbers correct? Do they fit those goals? For example, I'm not going to do best shape of my life because I feel like I've been doing that over and over again. So let's go to be a great friend. Okay, if I'm tracking quality time with people and I'm making quality time for people, is that going to help me be a great friend? And if I track the real connections I have in my life today, is that going to help me measure if I'm a great friend? For the moment, the answer is yes. I may discover better numbers to track in the future, but I can definitely track those. I cannot change those numbers in a day. Quality time, I guess I could, but I can't change the number of real connections I have in a day. If you look at the projects though, they will help me do that. With reach out to 5 people weekly, I can control whether or not I reach out to people every day. With 1 friend date a week, I can control whether or not I pick up the phone and schedule a friend date every day. And with the caretaking checklist, I can control looking at that list and saying, did I follow this list today? Cool? So with this here, my to-do list for this, I'm saying that I'm just calling out very clearly, this slide is incomplete. What is missing from this slide is every one of these projects should have a deadline. And I need to pick daily numbers to track for every one of those projects. So homework, again, is to dream bigger. Again, don't let the tame ones tell you how to live. Domesticated humans are like housebroken pets. Wolves, don't listen to chihuahuas. For your homework, I would like you to revisit that worksheet that I showed you, this one, right? You're going to do it once. You're going to put it down and sleep on it. Come back in a day or two and run through it and maybe cross some stuff out or make some stuff a little more solid or whatever is right for you. But I just want to I want you to do it once, walk away, come back with a fresh view and see what you got. Because odds are if you sleep on it, new things are going to come to the front of your mind. So take a second stab at it, at your vision, your mission, your why, after you've put it down. Again, you're not shooting for perfect. You're just looking for a step in the right direction. And remember to go 5 deep on your why. If you want to take a picture of this one, I'm giving you this slide. Take a photo of this. I mean, I feel like this is a really good example. So if you don't already have a photo, grab a photo. So when you're making yours, you can always look back at it and say, well, what did he did again? And that's another reason why I put those check boxes on here. Because if you have a photo of this, I want to make sure you know this is incomplete. It should have deadlines on projects. It should have numbers on projects. So, okay. So for your homework, you're going to start converting your dreams to reality. The way you're going to do that is with the other worksheet that you got, which is called My High Level OKRs. And I'm just going to hold it up real quick and show you what it looks like. It literally just looks like this, right? It's literally that last slide. You've got your OKR. You've got a little heart where you could write your why, a couple bullet points for putting your key results. And there's enough room there that if you want to put a third key result, you could totally do that. Break them down, however they should be broken down for you, and just start making up some projects that might be the right answer, but don't have to be. And after you've got a couple written, you can prioritize what you actually want to do. Everything on here should be for your life. And if you want to think about it in a time frame, think about either Q1 of 2021, so basically spring, or you could think about it as 2021 as a whole. What is it you're after? What you're going to get from that document that you got or downloaded is that you're going to get a couple different versions of this. So you're going to get this one, which is broken into 3 pieces. There's going to be another one that's broken into 4 pieces and has a whole bunch of projects. There's going to be another one where it's literally just OKRs that are not attached to each other with a couple of projects for each one. And you can just draw lines between them if you want to link them however you want. There's going to be another one, which is as simplified as I could make it. 1 OKR driven by 2 small ones, driven by a total of 4 projects. So when I say less is more, I'm saying this is probably the best page. So you do not have to do all of them. I'm just saying I'm giving you a lot of options. Pick the one that looks right for you. The sheet also has some directions on it, which is kind of a summary of a lot of the things we just said, so that when you're doing it, you can just sit down and do it and not worry about having to remember anything. And there's a nice little example there. So again, I want to call out that the bonus homework would be, hey, go look for some more photos for that dream board, or print out some more photos for your dream board. So if you'd like to take a photo of this screen, by all means. All right, so summing up what we did in that second half, we talked about how you define success. And what we're going to do is we're defining our dream, we're using OKRs to do it, and by the time we have our OKRs done, we've got SMART goals. So we don't have to spend a lot of time writing a lot of goals. We just write our OKRs, and it all kind of just funnels straight to that same driving force. And then we talked about which numbers are worth tracking to drive the numbers for your OKRs, and which OKR numbers, what they're going to look like, what you can track and move in a day, and what you can't actually move in a day. And know that you should be focusing on the numbers you can move, you can do or choose or control in a day. Next week is week 4 of the 4-week series. Next week, we're going to talk about how to play to win. We're going to talk about how to make a map for success, how to keep score, and I'm going to give you just tons of templates, just like I did with this, where there's just a bunch of different possible things, and just print it and just start writing whatever looks right for you. I'm just going to give you a bunch of blank templates like that, and whatever looks right for you, use it. Whatever doesn't, throw it away. It's totally fine. And I wanted to end it with, welcome to the best year of my life. Don't forget that. That's what you're driving for. Welcome to the best year of my life. So, cool. So do you guys have any thoughts or questions or anything like that?
Yeah, go back 2 slides real quick there.
What are you looking for?
2 slides. No, I can't. It's escaped me, whatever the hell it was. So sorry.
Feel free to text me later. It's totally cool.
Very good stuff.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Is there
Fantastic.
anything, I was wondering if any of you would mind sharing just like a takeaway? Like what was something that like jumped out for you is like, I'm glad that tidbit came up, or I'm going to do this now, or.
I think the first thing that you said is actually more affirmation than anything. It specifically deals with when I had credit card debt back in the day. It was a matter of like, okay, why is this number not going down? Let's break down what's going on in my life and how I need to make this number go down based off what my current actions are and what I'm doing and what I need to do to make this crippling burden go away.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that the OKR kind of situation, the metrics that you're talking about there was stuff that I had to do every week to get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when some of the numbers would change on you. APRs would go up because they did a credit check and all of a sudden that changed. Oh crap, now this is double for no reason. If I'm getting charged twice as much interest, I need to get rid of that loan first. That's where I would pivot and focus first versus the other stuff. So a lot of what you're saying right there is a really great way to figure that out. Because like you said, the amorphous versus the small, that's great. I also like the fact that sometimes when you have a really big goal, breaking it up into smaller parts is a really great way to digest it better.
Yeah.
So yeah, you want to be the best salesperson. Great. Oh my God. But the guy above you is doing 3 times as many sales. Okay, great. Let's take a look at what he's doing and what I'm doing and how we can make it better to be closer to what he's doing. So
yeah.
I think, you've always had a wonderfully analytical kind of mind. And so like taking that theory and putting it into practice is always something I have to be reminded about myself.
Yeah. And I'm glad that what you just said now and what Melissa said earlier, like the fact that it's all so big, it's easy to get overwhelmed. That is the hardest part of this whole exercise, is not overwhelming yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the way to do that is to know your why, because it'll help you focus. It'll keep you moving, but breaking things into smaller projects, like you just said, is just a great way to fight that overwhelm. It's like, yes, I want to be in the best shape of my life. No, I'm not in the best shape of my life today, but you know what I can do today? I can decide not to drink alcohol, and I can decide to go do a workout and know that I'm heading in the right direction. And so it helps you like not get so overwhelmed. So yeah, I like that you called that out. Thank you. Any other thoughts? Takeaways?
And that's basically what I was going to share, is just how concise it is. I really like that it's not this have to write out 4 pages on a book, that I can just take this one sheet of paper and then have all my goals and visions for the next year.
It's also great because you could just put that piece of paper on your wall, and when you walk by it, it's just incredible. It's incredible to just have this vision of what it is you want and have this simple path to get there. And so when you walk out of your house every day, you're like, I know where I'm going. Instead of having 10 pages to try and get caught up on, every day or every week to remind yourself, what am I doing? It turns into, no, I am going to be, like, for example, what I said earlier about like trying to collapse them down to I am statements. Like, I am an amazing father and husband. Like if that was at the top of your page, and you broke that down into 3 pieces, like, could you imagine walking out of your house every day going, I'm an amazing father and husband because of these 3 things I'm doing? And like, you don't have to, it doesn't take much to convince yourself. Convince yourself is the wrong word. It doesn't take much to remind you what you're after. Sweet. Cool, I'm glad you find the worksheet useful. So I'm gonna try to put together a lot more templates like that for next week. And that's going to be stuff like breaking down projects, scorecards, tracking. Like, I want to make those as simple and fun as possible. And Alex, specifically, you've already seen some of that, where you just have like a scorecard, and I'll get into that next week. But the idea is, the simpler you can make it, where you just get it at a glance, the better you're going to do, because you won't have to think about it so much. It'll just be obvious. Awesome.
Thanks so much, man.
Thank you guys so much, and have a great night.
You too, man.
Can I get you guys to say welcome to the best year of my life?
Oh,
One, 2, 3. Welcome to
welcome to the best year of my life.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, Melissa. All right, I'll catch you guys next week.
Thanks, man.
Okay.